And I just tell how it is. And we are live. Well, we're kind of live. Oh, hey,
Lynn's equal
everyone.
opportunity, everyone.
Yeah,
Lynn's equal opportunity.
yeah, I had to tell you about what, too. It's Real and Raw with Lynn Serrano, and you are.
Brian.
We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, so this is what was going on behind the scenes, right? So I'm like, oh, a minute ago, I guess we're gonna be talking topic here, and I'm like, shoot, we're only talking about weddings because Mr. Awesome over here is into the wedding industry, and I'm like, and he's not here yet. I mean, I trust he's always gonna come. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be talking about this stuff till he gets here, and then he shows up and he looks handsome. He got his haircut, and I was like, "Oh, I love your earrings." That's not earrings, but I just had to. So
It's
I'm
my
just like,
wireless earrings. My
yeah.
wireless earrings.
So I said, "You know me, I like to flirt. I'm just a goofy, silly girl." And I go, "Hey, I'm equal opportunity flirter. What can I say?"
Yeah. I'm glad that there's a record button because we would probably make people like roll their eyes by what we say before we actually go live. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Brian. So last week we had the topic of what's back to normal and what will not ever be normal for the wedding industry. And I kind
Yeah.
of decided to ask you all these questions and put you in the hot seat last week. But you actually, it was funny is you actually came prepared because you had
It
what you
was
wanted.
really hot. I got sweaty.
And so anyways, here we are this week, and I'm pretty much gonna sit here and let you chit chat what because I know you had some time to simmer on this topic.
Yeah.
So what would you like to say, sir?
I mean, yeah, my viewpoints are probably going to be very obscure and different. Um, Much of what I've learned in the industry and whatnot, it comes from, I mean, all of my experience, right? Do I have colleagues in other parts of the country and whatnot? Yes. Um, but coming out of the health crisis that we've had, I've had people say, well, are things back to normal? And I'm like, in my opinion, there's no such thing. It's just what's next, right? Like normal, I don't think exists because it's like, what's your definition of normal? You can apply that to life. You can apply that to, hey, what's a normal person? For who's a normal
Yeah,
person?
yeah.
So and I get it to some degree. It might be semantics, but I would have to say like, what's next? That would be the best way because it doesn't mean that things are bad. It just means that they're different. It means that we've not had a chance in the past to consider what the way our world looks like now. In terms of weddings, what they can be, but then also though what are people facing? What are people dealing with when it comes to issues that we didn't have to issues that were not there prior to what we endured over the past couple of years.
Yeah,
So I don't look at it as normal because I don't think anything is normal.
yeah,
Because the one piece that we're always going to be contending with is how everybody views life.
yeah. And there's a
Everybody's
season.
point of view is their own.
Yeah, and there's always a season. Everything's always
Correct.
changing. So
And
uh
so, like other thoughts that I had, and it was just I wrote down some notes, and it was just all kind of top of mind awareness. But when you look at like all the digital noise and garbage out there, where are people getting their information from? And I think that until you really look at the root of relationships and getting to know people, and if you can help them, it's where did they get their information from? Because just because they looked online doesn't mean that the information is great. And
hey, beautiful
there's Debbie.
Debbie. I love you, Debbie.
And so it's like when I talk to wedding couples, it's like, okay, it becomes very clear to me just by what they say in their use of language if they've been on the wedding websites. But also though, seriously,
I don't mean to laugh, but I laugh because it's like, you got the WebMD, you got YouTube, you got all these channels all of a sudden because they watch something, they think they know everything. So I'm sorry, that's why I
well,
was laughing.
and plus it's like I find some from time to time I'll find some contradictory statements that they might say where it's like we want to make our wedding custom and personalized, but we have to do it in this framework. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
If you feel like you have to do cookie cutter, but you don't like cookie cutter, well, then don't do cookie cutter.
Yeah, and I think it's because some people are so stringent on their old traditions, but
Yep.
like they say, old traditions doesn't pertain to that couple or who they are or what they want,
Yep.
or if they want to emulate and have the same where you're looking at three generations and the wedding things look all the same except for the people's faces.
Right.
Same
Well,
dress, same
Well,
everything.
and plus, it's like usually there's a sense of stress too that they're witnessing because they feel like they have to create these extraordinary results, but it's like there's too much on the table. Like they can't do it because they're getting all of this information and they don't know how to process it. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's have a conversation to be like, is this even you? Is this your love? This is your love story, not anybody else's.
And I love who was saying this. This is not just about weddings, what Brian's
Right.
saying here. This is life and relationships. I mean, I've seen the viewerships go up and down, and I don't care about that. But what I'm saying is there's so much value in what Brian says and brings to the table here because we get stuck in thinking that we have to have the same traditional either kid before marriage, marriage before this, and that. And we have to be like the Joneses as well. And yet we can only have I want 350 people at the cathedral, but yet blah, 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 blah. I mean, all these things. And it's like, where do you think you need to stick life or a wedding or anything in a box? What
Correct.
makes you say that you have to cut everything out awkward to do it in just that fashion? Like going to the Las Vegas to a wedding, Las Vegas Elvis wedding chapel. I'm sorry, you can't have 350 people there or whatever, and yet you it just wake up, people. So much is different. I think we are now in a position where we do have to use our minds and our thoughts and our imagination and create what you want. Forget about what everybody else
Well,
wants.
I also just by something you said, it's like what they want. It's like I caution that because it's like we all don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And the thing about it is that I don't want to go with any. I want to go in with a blank canvas, understanding them first if it's a prospective customer. If they don't want to give me a little bit of their time to see if there's even a possibility or if I can even help them, okay, cool.
So,
We'll cut ties right away.
Brian, I have a feeling I know the answer to this question, but I want to ask you this. Do you feel like you purposefully try to make sure that every wedding is not like one you've done in the past? Like, because I can see in other words, I could see that you really don't have your personal cookie cutter mode,
No.
I mean, that you do things that you really do listen, you care and say, well, let's try this. Let's do that. You don't say, well, I did this 10 years ago. Let me try this with these people. You know what I
The
mean?
I have no pre-existing understanding of what I'm going to do, what it's going to look
I
like.
love it.
But it's like all of my experiences after doing this many hundreds of times is that there's lessons I've learned, there are ideas that have worked, and different little ways of doing things where it's like I piece this idea with this, and it's like, ooh. And then all of a sudden, the weddings I've done it at where it successfully happened come to mind. So there's just that wealth of looking at things from a distance. Good morning, Bob.
Hello,
Is
Bob. Love you.
is that when you put things together, but I need a context that I'm working with, right?
Right.
It's like if somebody's going to be like, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. It's like, okay. I remember a bride and groom that wanted to take like 3 hours of post ceremony photographs, stopping at all these different locations, and everything is superficial until you look at putting it down on paper.
Well, Mr. Bob Donnell, the Mr. Next Level guy, I really feel like you're filling the criterias and the things that you being open minded of these clients of what you're willing to do is make their dream come true. You're not,
Right.
and that's something they don't get with all these other traditional. What Elvis package do you want today?
I think I think that there's a couple key pieces I want to share with everybody
Yes.
is that in my opinion, I think what muddies the waters in any business, so maybe even look for your own, is you can either have cookie cutter or you can have personalized. I think that what muddies the waters is like the semi. And I know I kind of alluded to it last week in part one of this, is that what muddies the waters is semi personal. It's
How
like,
about
no,
this? How about you either have a franchise or you have a locally owned and operated?
correct. Great,
you know,
great way of putting it.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
And it's like, and also though I look at it this way, you're either there to sell the customer, you're either there to serve them from a sale standpoint, or you're there to serve them as customers.
Yeah,
Because if you're there to serve them as customers, the money will show up. The money you
absolutely.
need to make to stay in business will show up, but it's one way or another. You know,
Absolutely.
there are other common things that might come to mind, but it's to me, it's like polar opposites. You're either there to sell somebody something or there to provide value and give value. Period.
Mr. No excuse guy. I don't know if you didn't get these, but I've got the believe and the
I
no
have not got
excuse.
them yet.
Okay, we got to hook you up. But anyways, you know, that's what I love is the fact that with your clients, you do such a great job with them that basically all those people attending are they're you're giving them an experience that they're going to talk about. So again, like you said, if it's all if you're catering to this couple and they love this couple and they see the vision you did, you're not going to worry about anything because they're going to say, wow, he really cared about them. And you want to be seen and heard. And that's the kind of person you are. You do see and hear people. So
Well, and the thing about it is that anybody, thank you, Christopher.
I know, doesn't he look good? You see, Christopher's flirting with you too.
Thank you, brother.
See, I told him he looked good, so you know, I was like, oh, well,
Is when it comes down to it, it's like, okay, who can generate reactions, who can create emotion, who can get people to feel something. That's a lot that's a lot easier said than done.
Right.
And when it comes time when guests are being seated for dinner, or when the master of ceremonies opens up the microphone, who can get the audience that are potentially strangers, right?
Right.
Who can get them to feel something within a minute or two and then build on that as the night or day progresses.
You know, I said this when we first started and I'm going to say it again, but someday I'm going to come to Wisconsin and I want to crash one of your weddings. I want to be like the fly in the wall and go, I want to bring cameras with me too, though, because, you know, I got to share it with our people, but I'm excited.
Because I also think too, is that when somebody is sales driven, and there's nothing wrong with either approach. It's just, I don't look at one as being very authentic and really truthful, right? Because if you're going to do whatever it takes to get the money, that really seems to be very manipulative and deceptive and just not where I play ball, right?
Yeah.
I would rather be on the side of the customer with nothing in between us, and it's authentic or not if we want to work together, you know? But it's also, I'm going to enrich their lives with value, ideas. They have a person that's there every step of the way versus leaving it to be, I don't know, automation or all forms or, you know, technology to do. It's like, if you're going to create something custom, it can't be done via software or email or whatever.
It's because you come from the heart. You're a heart-serving person and you connect from the heart. And that's one of the things I love about you. It's because you don't half-ass do anything. And I'm proud of that from you. I mean, you're just an amazing guy. And I mean, you know, you make things go, yeah, I'm doing whatever for money I'm doing to serve. And if it's some money, it's good. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, you know, there are a lot of different points of view and different ways of doing it. And it's like, whatever you do, commit to it 100%.
Yeah.
But if it's where you want to be and you feel inside of your heart that that's where it should be, never double down on yourself and don't look at what others are doing as if like there's a justification needed, because you're wasting your time.
And you know what I love about it? What it comes down to is the same credo that you and I both have. It's our integrity, and it's we have to be happy we did the best we could for our customer that we can. And that's really where it comes from. You know, it's integrity. It's like, you don't want to just take the money to take the money. You want to know that you earned it and you did what you could do for your client.
Well, I mean, I know we're coming up on time here, but I remember there was a transformational moment probably about 5 years ago when I sat down with this couple. I talked to them on the phone the day before. And when we sat down and we talked, I mean, the way I do business changed in that moment. And what it was is where I asked them one question. I'm like, who are your priorities? And the reason why I say who is because it's not what are your priorities. The what, like let's say the goods or services that a wedding professional provides, is created by the who. So that's why I look at who are your priorities. And the groom told me, and he was very clear because he was at over 100 weddings in his life. So it was very cut and dry about who mattered to him, who was going to
Right.
give him the outcome he wanted. When I asked the bride that question, they were not in alignment. Like he was going here and she was going there. And I'm like, with every word that came out of her mouth, and it's like, hey, those are who she deemed a priority. But I told them in that very moment, I'm like, I'm not the right person for you.
But you can feel
Because
good about that too.
right. And the thing was is that the groom's eyes got really big as if like, like he heard
You're
something
turning
he
me
didn't want to
down.
hear. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you guys are not in alignment with where you're investing your dollars, let alone who's important to you, how are you ever going to be fulfilled in those decisions?
Yeah.
Because if you're pulling from one pot, if you will, of dollars, one budget, how are you going to invest those dollars when you're not on the same page about where the money's going? And
Right.
then the outcome of those dollars. Now,
Yeah.
could I have been unethical to favor the groom to be like, because we had a connection? Yeah. But where is a review, let's say, going to come from? More than likely the bride over the groom, you know? So this is, it was a very big thing for me is that if you're not favoring one person, it's a group decision, you know?
So early in your career, did you feel like you regret some compromises you did to work with some people, and then that really helped you be more honed into saying, "I am not making those mistakes again." I mean, is that an
I think
admission to
it's,
say,
I think it's yes or no, but I also think it's something that every business owner has to endure because like when you're starting, you're just trying to gain a clientele.
right,
You don't know what you're worth. You don't know what you value because you need to have that proof.
right,
But after you reach a certain level of proof, then like any business, a small business or B2C is that word of mouth referrals. Now I
right,
know that this day and age with all the social media and all of these different platforms is that word of mouth referrals only go so far, but it's still the most authentic.
right,
It's still the most proof based versus ads and all that, which help, but don't take away from other people that have said what they've said about you
right,
so I think early on, yes, you need to have that until you have that proof, but then as you advance on, you niche your business, you double
right,
down in those groups of people that you serve the best, and you disregard the others. And it's
right,
not in a bad way, it's just that here's who I don't serve
right, right,
instead of anybody that has money to give you.
and I just love that because that's what I'm saying is it's like it's not like you said this is how I'm doing my business, but what I'm saying is it shows that look, I did it the way the cookie cutter way. I was open to this. I did shit I didn't want to do and I did it and I regret it and I know better now. You were able to connect with the people that you want to connect with by knowing whether you're going to qualify or disqualify the fact that I'm not jiving here. And I
I
think that's a great thing that people can learn in life and not
yeah.
just in the wedding arena. So I
There's there's two things that come to mind here is that number one is that never forget where you came from. And what I mean by that is never forget the people that gave you the opportunities. Like I've been on this quest since I was 12 years old. And next month it'll be 30 years officially. So and when I go back to my hometown, I never forget the people. They might not be around anymore. Might not be alive anymore. But I still haven't forgot the lessons that they passed along to me and the opportunities that they presented to me. So that's the humility of it. But also, though, it's that I don't. Um, I'm just so grateful for the opportunities that have been given to me. But at the same time, it's like, okay, my business where it is right now is that if I'm not a good fit for somebody, I'd rather have that be known up front through a conversation. And then we move on our merry way. There's no games or any of this
yeah.
because nobody has
Do
time
you
for that
usually
anymore.
have other friends you can
I do.
refer? Yeah, you see that. See again, that's just the way you are. I'm not surprised. I just asking the question, but that's also good because you know what fit that they possibly do fit.
And I think too is that whether I can help somebody or not, like personally,
Hmm.
is through time will present itself. but I will not sacrifice the recipe. I will not sacrifice going through the steps, because if they don't value their time, or if they don't warrant a conversation or want to have a conversation, that's cool. But I can almost guarantee you're going to walk away with an idea, a couple ideas, or a new way of looking at your wedding, whether or not I'm involved. Plus, I'm going to give you resources that you can use, like guides that I've written in other pieces of content that can help you. So at least you have that to use, because I don't wish upon anybody that they have a wedding that's not fulfilling, a wedding that's not extraordinary. I don't wish that experience upon anybody. But to a lot of people, if they can't make money off of you, they don't care. And I think that that's such a bad thing. That's really bad.
Yeah. And, you know, it's really great to be around those people and learn the lessons from that, and to learn the value of how it makes you personally feel, so that you would know how it would feel to somebody else.
Yeah.
And of course, the thing is I know that if I got denied from you to do my wedding, and I have a friend that's going to do a wedding, I said, you know what? He wouldn't do mine because I wasn't a fit. But why don't you go see? Because he's truthful. He'll tell you, no, I can help you, or I can't. And I mean, that's a process of elimination. And again, how can you not? I bet you've had people refer you that came from people that didn't work for you, but they wanted to see, check out this guy and see, because again, it's your authenticity, and it's who you are, the vulnerable, the raw and the real, that I love about you so much, Brian. And I've seen you grow in the last 2 years too. So again, that's why I love pulling this out of you, because you are.
I had a bride that I talked to from some indirect family members that I just wasn't able to serve. All of a sudden I go into my email and she wrote me a 5-star review for a wedding I wasn't even a part of. And I'm like, wow, that's you know, the one thing I will say too, is that I think that too much of business is about the customer deciding, because they're the ones that has the dollars to invest. Right. I think that is an entirely a wrong mindset, because if you are a business that has some credibility, you have proof, you have a reputation to uphold, I think that you need to also take a stand for, if you're willing to risk that credibility and that reputation online and everywhere for, you know, what I'm saying is that it's not just the customer deciding anymore.
No,
it is also the professional deciding if they want to work with that customer.
Well, let's go back to the department stores. You know, we got the name Macy's, right? Or Tiffany's, or any store, and they have their quality of stuff. You know how many people come in the door and out the door and never buy nothing?
Correct.
Okay. So whether you do that on the internet web, or whether you do it, you know, locally or whatever, people are always going to do that. So if you're going to have the mindset that it's not going to get you anything, then you're in the business for the wrong reason.
Correct.
And secondly, if you're good and you know you're good, and there's comparison to others, don't worry about it, because when people know and they like and trust you, they will tell other people that they know, like, and trust as well. So again, you need to think not scarcity, but the abundance of finding the correct people that you will serve.
Correct. And there's obviously a lot of my makeup is because of Jeffrey Gitomer, and studying him for, I mean, he saved my life, and I've just, I'm embodied in everything he does and what he talks about and all of his books and content. But it's like, you can either compete against or differentiate from, and competing against is something I will never do. If somebody, because here's a paradigm is that, and I understand that every bride and groom is stressed out about their budget and how it's going to be invested. And I mean, literally, it's like putting a big stash of money in the center of a table and lighting it on fire, because they don't know how it's going to go.
Right.
This one big day, they have absolutely no idea. So by that frame of mind, I would want to empathize with them too, to be like, hey, this can be a very scary time, because literally you have no idea how this is going to go. And you're putting your money into these people and investing in them, that number one, they're going to have the integrity to do what they say they're going to do. Or number two is that all of their proof that they're sharing online and social and word of mouth is what it is. And so that it's such a huge thing, but it's like, by the performance skills, by the training, is that people that have an understanding and a background of performance skills, of improv, of the theatrical realm of things, they're action people. Salespeople are ones that might talk a big game, but then they have to put it into action.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sales. Sales makes the world go around. But just because somebody can talk to you in a really salesy way, or in a way that gets you motivated, doesn't not mean that they are going to be able to give you the outcome.
Right. They're just following a script, people.
Right.
But if you don't feel it in your gut and you don't sense or connect it, you always should go with your gut, for sure.
Because here's the thing is that, if it's cool to be a student of people, but also they'll listen to their language.
Yeah.
Because if somebody invested a low dollar amount in a professional that did not make them happy, I always go back to their priorities. If the person wasn't not a priority, well, then they got what they got. Well, it wasn't successful. Well, what did you consider a reasonable success for the dollars that you invested? If it was something that was going to make or break the success of your wedding, maybe there should have been a higher investment. Maybe there should have been more of a stake in the game about the outcome of what this professional, because here's the thing, is that just because you spend money on wedding professionals, invest money, doesn't mean that the outcome is going to be extraordinary.
No.
I've said to people over the years where it's like, just by reserving somebody gets them to be there. Now you want it to be successful, or now you want them to be talented and skilled.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, just because you pay somebody money doesn't make them skilled.
It's like taking a course. If you don't
Right.
take actions from a course, you're not going to get the outcome you expected by putting your money. Putting your money into something doesn't get nothing out.
Right.
If you don't put your input in, and then it's your responsibility.
And I think from a prospective customer standpoint too, is that is the way I look at things now, and thanks to Scott McCain for this, because always give credit where credit's due, is that, I think one of the best things every business could do is look at psycho, demo, and then tendencies, is who your customer is, but also who your customer is not.
Yes.
And I've learned this from Scott, and it's a daily practice. It really is, because the demo and psycho and the tendencies of your customers, knowing that we're bringing more generations into the world, is only going to change. And I find more value in identifying who my customer is not than who my customer is. And it's not meant to be negative at all. Furthest from the truth. But what it is, it's meant to curb all of those nagging things that we just don't like as business owners. Like, oh, that person ghosted me, or they did this, they did that. Those are things to curb, because all you have to do is look at those families and those people that refer friends to you and whatnot, and look for those consistencies, and then remove all of the negativity of, you feeling like you have to track somebody down to get a yes or no or whatever. When you're working with the people and the group of people that you work with, you don't have to do that.
Well,
you don't have to justify yourself. You can just serve them and serve them and serve them some more. And it's extraordinary for everybody that's involved.
I love what you said. I love this topic today. You did a great job. And again, the criteria is, going at next level, like Bob Donnell. I love the fact that you've niched that down to be more productive. And that's, time is money too.
and I think that two great things that came out of COVID. Now, what came great out of the health crisis? I'm firm in this, in my belief, is that number one, it made Zoom and all of these other platforms a household name, which is great, right? It's no longer this mystique or this, oh my God, I'm going to screw it up if I go live or whatever, right? I think it created a household name because that's all we had is this video technology for a while. Number two is that people don't have time to play games anymore. Yeah. If you can hop on a video call with somebody in 2 seconds, there's no hiding anymore. If somebody truly wants to take your call and talk about if there's a possibility of helping them, if it's a business situation or whatever, there's no excuse anymore.
And it's even good on dating, because let me tell you, if they look like they look, then I already know what they're going to look like. But anyways,
in a business situation, it reminds me of old school. Now, this is a callback from the past of when you actually had a coax phone line in your house,
Yeah.
right? And it's like when you had a credit card terminal where it's like, if somebody wanted to reserve your services, but they didn't have the cash or money in their account, but they had a credit card, you could use that as your last ditch effort if they really were, if you really want to remove all the barriers of ownership. If you could say to them, it's like, I do have a credit card if that works for you. No, if you've given them every option and they're still resisting, there might be something else there. So
all right, we need to cut this because I think I hopefully we have enough room to save this on my StreamYard. So you guys have a good one, and thank you for being here. And remember, it's a day before Friday and the weekend, so have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.